it's been an interesting, well, 3 or 4 months, I suppose, where I've had to, no, I chose to, chose to really sort of step back and contemplate, sort of introspectively decide who I choose to be from now this point forward. And what I see happening, I mean, when we look around, there's chaos and uncertainty and fear, for some really good reasons everywhere we look. And one of the opportunities, and I know it sounds strange, but one of the opportunities that I believe this is offering, because for so many people, probably almost everybody, our normal has, at least for now, disappeared. And it's been that way for a while. And at least from my observation at this point, is going to be this way for a while. And so many of the people, places, things, or events that have either forced upon us or we've received them, and it's kind of two ways to say the same thing, to define who we are. And so the people, places, things, and events that have defined who we are, so many of them aren't there, or at least our connection and our relationship with them is so fundamentally different and altered. And so what that does is it really gives us an opportunity to, the title of this is to sort of step into our spiritual closet as much as we can. I realize we still have life to participate in as best we can, but to step into our spiritual closet to ask two questions. And the first question, which is often one we get stuck on, is who am I? Now, why do we get stuck on that one? Well, we get stuck on that one because for so long we have allowed, or again, it's been sort of forced upon us by external sources, the answer to the question. So the answer to the question of who am I has not been us choosing, selecting, clarifying, deciding that. It's been people, places, things, or events that have enforced or forced that upon us. So it's like a mold that's been created, and then we have been shoved into this mold. And probably some portions of the mold fit not bad, and there's probably a lot of other portions that don't fit worth a damn. But we have been forced into that. And then what happens is we get so busy with life that we really don't have a chance, more accurately, don't take the opportunity to sit back and go, does this fit or doesn't it? What pieces of the mold or molds that I've been pushed into fit, work, serve me, and what ones don't? And so often when we do that, I think that's why sometimes the whole who am I question can be a scary one, is when we actually take time to be alone, right? To step into our closet, we start to discover there's an awful lot of molds that maybe served us at one time but don't anymore, and so often never did in the first place. But we've been so busy that we forget. Right? And so this really does give us an opportunity now to sort of step back, because we've been kind of forced to in so many ways, and really ask that question, who am I? And then the more important one is the question that follows that, which is really for me a creative question. And that is, who do I choose to be? And this is where you take your power back, is when you decide, who do I choose to be? in this moment. Not what society tells me, not what, again, people, places, things, or events tell me, but who do you choose to be? And that is the empowering question. So often the first one can feel, at least initially, disempowering. But if we can move through that, and right now it's a bit easier to do that because we don't have the busyness reminding us, this is who you are, this is what you have to do, this is what you're supposed to do, blah, 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 blah. It allows us a little bit more clarity in moving through and from that one to who do you choose to be? And for me, that's where the power is. Because in this moment, you can choose to be anything. Now, your logic will tell you that's crazy. When you look at the circumstances around you, they're definitely going to tell you you're crazy. But that's a smokescreen. Your external circumstances are real, but they aren't always true. Or if they're true in this moment, it doesn't mean they always have to be true. What was true for you before doesn't necessarily have to be true from this point forward. Because you have the power, and I know it doesn't feel that way so often, you have the power to choose who you will be in this moment. I can feel source moving in. I can remember so clearly. I don't know how many years ago. 2005 probably. I was teaching workshops, Reiki workshops, a few other ones in Red Deer. I can remember the exact spot, sitting on the couch, and when I looked around at my external circumstances, this thought that found me was beyond lunacy. And the thought was, if I can teach workshops like this here, why can't I teach them elsewhere? And that thought felt good. It made no sense. And when I looked around at my external circumstances, it was absolute nuts. It was past that. But it felt good. And even then, in the beginning, I had taken enough steps through the looking glass of normalcy to begin to contemplate, to be open to impossibilities becoming not just possible, but inevitable. I can remember that so clearly. And what was interesting, I'd have to think now, it wasn't that many years after that. And I did a video of this. It was the first time my foot touched the Pacific Ocean. And it was in a place called San Juan Capistrano, which is a little bit south of Anaheim. I was there teaching my first workshop in the US in Anaheim. And in the States, when I go for a teaching trip, it's a week, even though it's just a weekend class. And I was like, so what do I do? And I was looking at brochures and on the internet and whatnot, and I seen this mission. And it's a Capistrano, San Juan Capistrano mission. So I thought, that sounds kind of interesting. So I got on the Amtrak, and I went down to this mission and I explored it. And then this thought found me. And the thought was, because I knew it was fairly close to the ocean. I wonder if I can get to the Pacific Ocean. And so I don't even know if Google Maps it was at the spot where they mapped out all the transit routes. I think I got my hard copy of the bus schedules, and I found a bus that went to a beach. And I got on the bus. I remember this so clearly. Oh, it's strong now. And I took it to the beach, right? I did not expect this. And I can remember getting closer and closer. You go, can I see it yet? Can I see it yet? And then we turned a corner, and there it was. And it was kind of an overcast day. So as I approached the water, it made the whole experience even more surreal than it already felt. And I can remember walking up towards the water. And I stood on the gravel and I held the camera down and I waited until the wave came in and I took a picture. Where that water touched my feet for the first time. And I recorded a video there. And I actually talk about it in the video. So here's this farm kid, right, from rural Alberta, never traveled before. And yet I had the audacity to believe that thought that found me sitting on the couch when I looked around me and it made no sense at all that I could teach elsewhere. And here I was, standing with the Pacific Ocean lapping against my feet. And the reason I was there was because I was teaching a Reiki workshop. Now, anybody in their right mind wouldn't have even contemplated that. You don't think there aren't Reiki teachers in Anaheim? Who am I? Who am I to even think that I could do that? But I chose to believe it anyway. And I did it. And I actually talk about it in the video that it was this amazingly surreal experience, but at the same time it felt so normal. Why? Because you have the power to choose who you are. I had the power to choose who I would be in that moment, not however many years later, but in that moment, sitting on the couch. When I looked around me and it just made no sense at all, I chose then to believe it. I chose to believe it then. It wasn't like, well, when this happens, then I'll believe it. I chose then to believe it. And it came to pass. And so kind of in a really neat way, these last however many months, I've chosen to step into the closet and recreate the healing center. Not so much the mission, but how it's delivered. And then to come back out of the closet. It's cliche, but it's so true. To step into that cocoon, to transform and then to come out again. Not even so much as somebody fundamentally different, but a greater expression of who I am and who you are. Because you have so much more life to live. And it's so easy to look around and not see that right now. It's so easy to look around and hear all the news reports, maybe people that you know, that they don't have any more life to live because they've left their bodies, right? But you're still here. And because you're still here, you have the power to choose who you are in this moment. You have that power. just like I did, just like I do. You have that power right now to choose.